Loud? Here it comes. Okay, let's play a little bit.
The levels are peaking, you know.
Yeah. Who hasn't heard Eye of the Tiger, right? Such a great motivational song that pumps everybody up. I think everybody that works out, everybody that's trying to do something, kind of use this song. Never goes out of style. Never. Never. And we like to say hello to everyone. And I want to say good evening, you know, because it's becoming 6:46. First of all, I want to make sure everybody's well, everybody's healthy on the other end. And today we have a very special person interview, as you know. And the essence of the channel that I have here, Unbreakable, is to, share, transmit good energy, positive thoughts, positive vibes, and talking to great people. People that are, to me, are unbreakable. People that I know based on what I see, what I follow, and almost the 20 guests that we have done so many great things in their lives with all kinds of stuff that we confront, like obstacles. Sometimes people not cheering for you, but we keep on working, we keep on fighting, we keep on going on our own, and we break that wall and we keep on going, and new things come up. So this is what it's all about, people that are great, and today we have William Christopher Ford. He has many examples of what we're going to go through. He's going to share the struggles, the perseverance, success, despite all the circumstances that we go through, right? And Christopher is a multifaceted person, and we're going to find out about him as a father, as an actor, as a businessman, as a martial arts teacher, and above all, a great human being. William, I want to thank you for giving us your time, and I know that what you're going to share, your testimony, your stuff like that, will be very motivating to many people. That there's always great golden nuggets in every person that we talk to, and and this could help somebody else in whatever they're doing in a career, in whatever they're trying to excel as a person. So I just want to let you know that's what we're all about here on what we do here on Unbreakable. And we have the pleasure again to have Mr. William Christopher Ford. So I think my hair is a little bit hot. So William, welcome. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me on your show. What an honor.
Thank you. And I want to tell people that whoever's listening, if you have any questions, anything that you'd like to ask, please ask me, because I think we're going to touch different parts that could help somebody at any given moment, that we face in our lives. So, William, I want to get to know you more. I know I follow you. I know we went to school together at North High, and also that I want people to know whatever you are at right now. I wanted to know you before, how things were created for you. How you made all these things happen for you, and definitely it's something for good information for kids too, because you have stuff to share about that. I definitely like to learn, and I wish I would have known as a kid. Probably would use it better, but we'll get back to that, right? And so tell me about, were you born here in LA, Christopher? Where were you born?
Well, I was actually born in Long Beach.
Long Beach.
I was born at the LBC at Long Beach Memorial. And when I was about 2 years old, my father got a job. He worked for a company called Tektronix, I believe. And he took a job in Australia. So my mom and I ended up in a town called Adelaide, Australia. And I lived there for a couple of years. And from what I understand, I spoke just like the Aussies. Mm-hmm. And my father's job ended, and he came back, and I consequently lost my accent. And he ended up working for TRW until he retired. And he passed away about 15 years ago this month. But TRW was a company that he stayed with for a long, long time.
I remember TRW and in Redondo Beach
Yeah.
on
Yes.
Boulevard.
And
Right.
it's funny because I asked my dad. I said, what is it that you do? And he says, "Oh, I'm an engineer." So I got very excited about that because I was expecting him to tell me about, when we can go on the train. I was expecting to see him with the conductor's hat, and he was like, "No, no, no, I'm not that kind of engineer." And he tried to explain it to me, and I was really disappointed.
Hey, well, he was working at a very important company, by the way. TRW, not anybody can work there. You know, you have to have skills, and especially in as an engineer. You know, so
For sure.
that was good for him. So tell me, I mean, you went to Australia, but you were born in Long Beach. How, William, how was your childhood? How were you when as you were growing up? What do you remember about it?
Well, I'm an only child, and my mother is from Japan, and she she actually had six miscarriages before me. So I was the one that survived, and so I'm the only child, the only son, and as a result, my mother protected me.
So you're the only child.
But my parents were very, they were very. My father was a very good man. He had a temper, that he had a hard time controlling,
Yeah.
but hardworking, honest, just good people. My mom is still alive. She's 88, and still tries to do things like yoga and things like that. But I was a very shy child. I was kind of I was shy. I didn't have a lot of confidence, and people would come over, and I would go hide behind the couch or something like that. So it was that was my challenge. I was afraid of people, until I got to know you, and it was a bit of a struggle.
So you opened up once you got to know people, right? In the beginning, it was kind of
Yeah,
hard.
they come over, and then you kind of peek out from behind the couch, and then they knew I was comfortable with them when I brought out all my toys. I took my bucket of toys, and then I would show them, and there's, "Oh, this is my rocket, and this is my truck, and this is," and then once I did that, then I trusted you.
I got you. Hey, everybody does different ways to how we connect with people. That's cool, though. That's cool. You connected with that. So when you were a kid, at what age did you go to Australia? Do you remember?
Oh, I was there from when I was 2 till I was 4.
Okay, then you get back to the U.S. again, to L.A. or something like
Yeah,
that.
and then we moved to Gardena. I lived on a street called Menlo Avenue, which is off of Rosecrans, I think.
Yeah.
And I lived there until I was about 8 years old or so.
Okay.
And then we moved to Torrance,
All
and
right.
that's where my mom still lives to this day. She actually she lives on the same block as my martial arts studio. It's like you just walk around the corner and you can get to my mom's house, and
So you
she still lives there.
Gotcha. So William, you went to Arlington and then you went to North High, probably, right? Arlington, Cashmere, and North High. Is that about the thing?
I didn't. I actually went to Gardena Valley Christian School for 8 years.
Look at that. Okay.
It's right on. It used to be on 182nd Street. I think they changed now. It's not that anymore. It's still a Christian school, but somebody else took it over. But yeah, I went there for 8 years.
Yeah, and then you did end up going to North High, right? At one point, or no?
I did. I went I went all 4 years.
That's right. Okay, awesome. So I know that you're the martial arts expert, and you do all that training. And we'll talk about your place in a minute. But did you were you as a kid? Because you said that sometimes you were you and me. I mean, you become shy and you don't really that open up right away. And when you were in school, did you got any bullying going on, stuff like that? When you were a little kid, school or something?
Before I got into martial arts, as I said, I was really shy, and I remained shy until probably until like the 80s. I was a very late bloomer. But in addition to being very shy, I also had a bit of a temper. Something would trigger me. But I do remember getting bullied and kind of beat up. One day, I had gone over to the the babysitters. The family that babysat me was next door to my mom, and my mom's my parents both worked, and my mom was a waitress, and so sometimes she would drop me there. And the bully over there was the kids over there. There were three kids. There was Carolina, there was Tito and Memo. I remember them, and their last name was Anaya. And
Yeah.
they were a very nice family, very nice kids, all younger than me. But they had an older cousin who used to come over, and his name was Tony.
Yeah.
And he had it in for me, and he kind of bullied me, and it made me very, very fearful, But years later, I thought about it, and it's like, well, the reason why he bullied me was because that sometimes I would lose my temper and push the other kids around. So I was the bully, and then I got bullied. So it was kind of karma,
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
So sometimes because you are because I'm very much against bullying, but I also understand where that could come from. Oftentimes it comes from being unhappy or bullied yourself. There's oftentimes circumstances that contribute to that. Unhappiness or insecurity and things.
That's true. Like you're sending that vibe that, hey, go ahead and bully me if you want. I got you. Right? It kind of feels like that a little bit. So tell me, I based on my notes that I've read, is how you decided to start martial arts at age 7. Is that right?
Yes, I started around age 7. I had a friend named Joseph Hiraoka. I don't know how I remember all these names, but I guess they made impressions on me.
Good memory, William. I was sometimes, but I got you. So what did this guy do for you?
Well, he's my childhood buddy at school, and then one day he goes, "Hey, I started taking karate classes. You want to go?" And I'm like, "Sure." And prior to that, my experience with martial arts prior to that had been I watched a show called Kung Fu with David Carradine, and I had gone to the Japanese Deer Park in Buena Park. There used to be a theme park out there, and they used to have live karate demonstrations there with a man who I'm very good friends with now, called his name is Fumio Demura. But I'd never actually taken a real karate class. So when Joe asked me to go, I was very excited. And I met with a man named Glenn Rabago, who was the brother of Richard Rabago. Glenn, honestly, was not a very good teacher. He kind of beat up on us in a way that was not a good way, and so he eventually left, and Sensei Richard Rabago took over the school. And I really, really connected with him. He would definitely push you, but he had a heart of gold and would give you the shirt off his back. And there was never any pretense with him. And what you saw was what you got. And definitely one of my heroes and one of my influences growing up.
I got you, William. What did it mean to you to start learning that martial arts as a kid? Do you remember how you felt when you were learning the moves? And I'm pretty sure there's things that they teach you there. What did that mean to you being early? I mean, did you more confidence and stuff as you were getting older?
Well, initially they give you a uniform, which is called a gi, right? So, the first day I had my gi, it's like, you feel like you're Superman. So, I go home, and then, the neighbors saw me coming in the house, and they're like, "Hey, he's doing karate." So on my first day, without knowing anything, I open up the drapes so that people can see me in the window, and I start showing off all my moves. And they think I'm the greatest. And I only learned there's only 1 day of practice, but I soon grew to not like karate because all of a sudden it was like, wait a second, this is kind of hard. We have to do push-ups and we got to work hard and we got to sweat. And I thought this was going to be easy. And I kind of just didn't, it was a struggle getting me to go to karate sometimes. And once I got there, I was fine, but I actually wanted to quit. I was like, see, I was very clumsy. I was an awkward, clumsy child. So stuff didn't come naturally to me. But my mother felt that there was something in it for me and it would really benefit me. So she did not let me quit. And she said, you got to go until you get your black belt. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I was able to eventually earn my black belt and eventually become a sensei. And now I get to give back to kids who are like I was and give back to my community.
That's hey, I think we share the same thing. Trying to give back, as you learn more, when the moment comes, you can give back. And so you studied when you were 7, and you kept on studying, and things gradually you learn more stuff, more martial arts. We'll get into it in a little bit.
Mhm.
Got you. As growing up, being a teenager, do you remember where you worked at? The first job? Did you work when you were a kid, or like newspaper routes or something like that?
Well, there were two that stand out in my mind. I got a job at Yauhan, which is now Nijia Market. So I got a job for 1 month during the Christmas season. They were looking for people, and I used to, so I was able to just walk to the market, and that was kind of like my first experience. And it was like, well, what's this? This is your time card. This is how you get paid, and that was kind of a cool experience. Bagging groceries and things like that. So I learned a lot about when you're working for the public, you got to present yourself in a certain way. You just can't show up and wear holy jeans and things like that, even though that's actually quite fashionable nowadays. But the other job I had was interesting because I've always been kind of drawn to entertainment, and I maybe it's because I have an imagination. I was an only child. I like to pretend, but there was a temporary a temp agency, and it was named Western Temporary Agency, and there was an ad for they were looking for people to put costumes on at the Del Amo Mall and play characters from Mattel. So I got a chance to play He-Man and Skeletor, and they gave me these latex rubber costumes that you put them on and it just makes you look like you're the most muscular person. I mean, I put this costume on and people thought I looked like the Terminator, and you wore the mask, and the basic thing was you come out and you greet kids and take pictures with them and everything like that. And I thought that was the greatest job in the world. I just was like, this is so cool.
Yeah, that experience. That sounds good. Hey, listen, those things that stay in your mind, so that must have been something special for you. Those two.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. William, what did it mean to you, to study with Sensei Richard Rabago? How did that make you? What was it for you?
That that man was just the best. He just so pure in his. He would. He ran his school for 35 years or something like that before he was finally forced to shut down because of the landlord was made an offer from Carl's Jr. and Carl's Jr. wanted to expand their drive-through in order to stay competitive, and unfortunately the dojo was one of the places that had to go. So but up until that point, I remember him. He would charge a ridiculously low amount of money. It's something like it started out at $25 a month, and then by the time he was done, it was still something like $60 a month. Now this is over 35 years, So, and he didn't want to raise his prices, and he would oftentimes, I know, he paid his rent out of his own pocket when there weren't enough students. So. He did it. He was just so passionate about it, and I remember seeing him do this where sometimes people couldn't pay, and he would say, "Okay, come in, sweep the floor, take out the trash. If you're serious about training, just come." And just generous, very very giving of his art. He just was like, "Hey man, you like to train, come train," and he worked you. I mean, some people actually regret that decision because I think he made you want to quit. But I just, that guy was just an amazing man, and just certainly an influence on me to this day.
It does sound like it. He was passionate about what he wanted to teach others. And like you
yeah,
said, he paid money out of his own pocket for the rent, and he just wanted to teach people. That was in him. You
that's
know,
it. That's
that's
it.
that's cool. Hey, William, we have a friend of mine named Miguel Aguirre says hello. Jaime Godinez, and we have a guy named Roy Gomez says nice to see you, Sensei Ford. So say a shout out for you.
Oh, my Roy Gomez is a very accomplished martial artist and a military veteran and a good guy.
Okay, well, definitely, that's cool. Then that's cool. Hey, we love the military people. They put their heart every day when they're out there. So we definitely appreciate those people. Tell me about Master Tadashi Yamashita. Did you meet him after Richard Rabago? Is that the case?
Okay, well, we kind of keep it in the family because Sensei Tadashi Yamashita was Sensei Rabago's sensei, and so even though Sensei Rabago was my sensei, Mr. Yamashita was his master, and he kind of was. We were under his system, in his organization,
Gotcha.
and so I had the opportunity to actually train directly with Sensei Yamashita for and it was pretty much one-on-one. I would go to his home, and this was pretty much for about 10 years. Once a week I'd go to his home and train, and he's still alive. He's an amazing martial artist, extremely knowledgeable. I mean, one of the great icons in the in the martial arts world. Definitely made his impact. Was in a bunch of movies, and what he taught me was a lot about expansion and retraction in my physical technique. There were certain things where I would be like, well, how do you get explosive movement from this? And then he kind of revealed the secret to me, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. And that was probably the thing that I retained from my training with him after all these years, was how to generate power and snap from movements that you wouldn't think that you could. Is because you're doing the movement incorrectly. That's why I was doing it wrong, and I never realized it. And he says, do it this way. He'd yell at you, But so unfortunately, he and Sensei Rabago had a falling out, and that was never patched up. I personally have not spoken to Sensei Yamashita in probably 10 years, but I know he's still alive, he's still teaching, he's still active, and a very, very dynamic individual.
Perfect. So you kind of, it's about the technique. It's not just like, it's like when you lift weights and you go like this, you think you're doing it right, but it's like such a posture, certain way, and if you do it right, it has a tremendous effect on your body. Is what Mr. Yamashita share with you, right?
Yeah. Well, one of the things about martial arts is that there's a lot of technique that's based on physics and biomechanics, and I want to muscle everything, right? And when you turn your hips a certain way, and you pop your wrist down, and the technique, and there's also timing and things like that. All of a sudden, it's like, whoa,
Where the strength come from?
Yeah, you're able to do things, because it's a technique. It's a discipline, and these guys put in years and years of dedicated, committed practice, so they get really, really good.
Yeah, definitely. You keep on learning, keep on practicing the craft. You
Yes.
can definitely. So look, we have karate, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, kickboxing. I know you probably have others, but of these types of disciplines, which one do you dominate? Which one do you feel more passion? And if so, why?
Well, I'm only a white belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I was first introduced to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at El Camino College back in the 1985 or 86. I was taking a self-defense class over there with a man named Mitsu Yamashita, who has no relation to Sensei Tadashi Yamashita. Mitsu Yamashita is a wonderful Aikido master, and he actually invited the Gracie family to come down and give a demonstration, and so I was present for this. And back then, there was no UFC, and nobody had heard of the Gracies. And there was a gentleman named Horian Gracie and his brother Hoyce and their brother Hickson. came down, and Hoyler came down, and they basically said, okay, you guys, if anybody who wants to, you know, try to beat us up, you know, and we won't hit you, you know, but we're going to take you down. And sure enough, and, and back then I was like, man, you know what? Before seeing that, I just thought I'll just kick somebody, you know. There's nobody who's going to be able to. I'll just kick them. And then they were able to close the gap so quickly that I was just like, man, I think I better at least learn how to get up off the ground, you know, just because. And so it opened my eyes. So I was able to study jujitsu at Jorge and Gracie's house in his garage, and it was half an hour. You get half an hour with either Hoist or Horion, and it was $20 cash. And back then it was like, man, that's a lot of money, I thought. And now I would happily pay $20 for half an hour of Jorge and Gracie's time or Hoist Gracie's time. But but you know, it opened my eyes and opened my mind to other things. You know, there's karate is my base art, you know, but I like very much boxing and kickboxing and jujitsu and wrestling. And, you know, there's a lot of great things out there. You know, there is Silat and Sansu, and there's judo. It's all great. It just depends on, you know, what do you like about it, and what do you want out of it, and how does it work for you? And, you know, you can dedicate yourself to just doing karate as long as it works for you. But I'm always curious, and I'm very open-minded, and I always like to say, oh, what was that? I don't know that. You know, how did you do that? And do that again. So so I cross-train, you know. But the art that I teach is called Shorin-ryu Karate. It's an Okinawan style. Okinawa is, you know, part of Japan. And but I come from traditional training, but I'm not necessarily a strictly traditionalist. You know, you know, hey, let's work on our jab, cross, hook, uppercut combination today. And hey, let's work on, somebody's going to try to take you down. Let's work on sprawling so that, you know, you can prevent that. And one of the things that I'm very adamant about teaching my students is you know, we do not badmouth other instructors or other styles. You know, that is important to me. You know, we respect everybody. We respect other schools in the neighborhood, because I think we're all doing the same thing. We're all the good guys. We're all trying to help kids become stronger, be more confident, stand up to bullies, protect themselves, be safe. There's no need for me to compete with the other martial arts schools, because they are my brothers and sisters, you know? So if somebody feels like I'm not necessarily a good fit for them, then I'll say, hey, you know what? Go see Sensei Russell Anamizu on Gardena Boulevard, or, you know, whoever. I'll refer them out. And, you know, at the end of the day, they've got to be happy.
I agree. So having knowledge of the martial arts, have you had a time that you had to use it, or you've been pushed to the wall, or because I guess when you know it, you have this confidence inside of you that, you know, you don't look for trouble, and you just know that you can defend yourself. Have you ever had to use it, William?
You know, I've had to use my. Okay, so here's the thing. In high school, I got into a fight, and it was a silly high school fight. Now, I did not instigate it, but I could have walked away from it, and I didn't.
You were young, you know. You knew you had confidence.
So, you know, it kind of goes on for this week where this guy bumps into me, and then, you know, it just, you know, and then so at one point, you know, there's this confrontation, and I say to him, you look like you've been wanting to hit me for a long time. And he goes, oh, man, you have no idea. And I looked at him and I said, dude, take your best shot. And he did the classic sucker punch thing where he looked away. And then when he looked away, I was like, he's going to try to hit me. Yeah. So I hit him with a round kick to the groin. And then I hit him with my left jab. And his friends jumped in. And I guess they knew I had a little bit of a reputation because, you know, other people my age were going to my karate school as students. So, you know, it's you know, it gets around that, you know, you're the karate dude, right? And so his friends were like, hey, dude, you don't want to mess with this guy, you know? And he goes, no, I want to fight him. But they broke it up. And then I look at my fist and there's blood on it, you know? And I'm like thinking, oh, I must have hit him hard, you know? And then I looked at my hand a little closer, and I noticed that there's a cut on my finger. So I hit him in his tooth, and he bit my finger, and that's where the blood comes. This was my blood.
Yeah.
And
I
I
bet
still have that scar to this day. And then I thought about it later on, and I'm like, I really didn't. It didn't need to go there. It could have been avoided a long time ago. And one of the things that I've learned since then,
yeah.
is that oftentimes when you study martial arts, you study self-defense. It really isn't about who's going to beat each other in a fight. Oftentimes, especially when it comes to a real self-defense situation regarding criminal activity, oftentimes it's, man, no, you know what? I don't think I'm going to go to the ATM at 11 o'clock.
Trouble.
You walk around, and if I'm looking down at my phone and I'm not looking up, at my 10 o'clock and my 2 o'clock and my 12 o'clock, if I'm looking up and I'm walking with a certain confidence, and and suddenly I'm not a soft target, the best self-defense scenario is the one that never happens. Then it's invisible. It's like, you had no idea that somebody might have been sizing you up, but because you carried yourself in a certain way, and I'm not talking about in an arrogant way, but just confident and just aware, it's like, nah, I don't think so. This guy looks like he might give me a hard time. And criminals want it to be easy. They don't want to get caught. They don't want somebody to put up a struggle. And that's one of the things that I've learned, about self-defense is oftentimes, man, it's before anything even happens. Just be aware.
Gotcha. Okay, well, from that, I guess your teaching is something like, now at this point, is respect, discipline. Be strong, feel stronger, more confident. That definitely makes you like a person that it's gonna be safe. That because you probably have this, like we were talking earlier, this kind of little energy that guy. I don't think is a good guy to mess with, or that guy, because there's something with that person. I better just go to the next one. So that's cool.
That's part of it for sure. And I'll tell you real quickly, yeah, part of it is that, but also, I believe, if you want respect, give it first, and martial arts the traditional martial art is about respect, not only respecting yourself. First of all, you learn to respect yourself. You don't feel like you need to be a certain way with other people, but I give respect freely, and I get it back. I don't demand it. It's given to me because I earned it, right? But in regards to, the actual, yes, there's respect, there's confidence, there's self-discipline. Those are things that are important. But in regards to the actual physical fight, right? The part that, well, okay, now I have to fight because I've exhausted my other options.
Yeah.
My belief is that I use a lot of E words, but the system has to be effective, efficient, and easily executed. And you can't waste your time with a lot of fancy moves. I like stuff that is like, no, this has been tested and it works. And if my mom can't use this stuff, right? Like, she's 88 and she's limited in terms of what her physicality is. But
yeah.
If a martial art is so complicated that, the average person can't learn it, and unless they are studying for years, that's great as a martial art. But how does it work as an effective system of self-defense that is readily usable? So in a sense, martial arts and self-defense, they've kind of become two different things. They're part of a whole, but martial arts isn't necessarily self-defense. So it's kind of like going into a Home Depot, and the Home Depot represents all martial arts, right? And then you go into the Home Depot, and you have one row that's karate, one row that's boxing, one row that's jujitsu, one row that's silat, one row that is kung fu. And then you go, you know what? I really like what they have over here in the karate aisle. Let me take that. And then let me take, this jujitsu choke is really good. And then you walk away with this sort of self-defense toolbox that you have that you can use. And yes, you can go and study a martial art. But you don't necessarily have to study that martial art for years and years and years to be able to effectively defend yourself.
Got it. William, I know that you've been doing this in 7 and eventually getting higher knowledge on the martial arts. What was it like for you when you got inducted into the Hall of Fame and recognized with a life achievement for your, commitment in martial art? What was that for you? How do you feel when you got that?
Well, I was nominated by Sensei Rabago, who, he was an alumni of that organization.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to take it because, you know, that stuff doesn't really matter to me. The accolades they're nice, but this was before he passed away. And he says, you're just opening up a new school. This was in 2011. He said, you know what, this can help you because people, the general public is oftentimes going, well, who is this guy? Oh, he was in the Hall of Fame. He must be good, right? It doesn't matter if I'm good or not. I might not be, but since Irabago wanted to give me some things and give me some tools to help me along in terms of business, but I believe he also really felt that because because of my service to the community, he wanted to give me something to acknowledge me for that.
I think that was smart advice because people always like to know what have you. They like to check your credentials, and that's a great credential to have actually. And even
Yeah.
though you know all these things, but just something on the side to people to feel okay, good. And I feel very confident here at your dojo place.
Well, I'll
So
tell you, Antonio, the thing is that I this was like I'm 53 now, and this was back in 2012, right? So I barely, a lifetime achievement award. Usually, it's like somebody who is like has lived their life completely. So I still feel like I haven't grown into the award yet. I still have another 40 years before I think it's like, okay, you know what, I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. So I think it was a bit premature, but it holds me to a higher standard as far as, okay, you know what, in order to be worthy of this, I got to keep working and I got to keep contributing.
it's great recognition, anyways, for the effort that you've been putting out there all those years. You started at the young age. But tell me, when you had it, okay, I'm just gonna finish on this part. When you had it, the award, do you dedicate it to anybody? Maybe your mom, your dad, or something? Did you have anything like that in your mind?
I dedicated it to Sensei Rabago because he's the one who nominated me, and then he passed away. So yeah, I dedicated it to my sensei.
Awesome, awesome. And I know I have a couple people. It says Cameron Rico, probably one of your persons that says hello, Sensei. And
Seifu Cameron Rico is a great friend of mine, and he has helped me with some of my fundraisers for St. Jude Children's Hospital. Great man, great martial artist. And he told me something that I tell a lot of people. When you feel like giving up, just keep punching. So
what was that?
When he says when you feel like giving up, keep punching. So I like that. I guess you could take it literally or figuratively, but that's good advice. Keep punching, man. And it's like, yeah, I gotta keep punching. I gotta keep going. Eye of the tiger.
I like it. Don't give up. Basically, don't give up.
Don't give up. Do your best.
William, I see pictures of you and your little girl. What does it mean to be a father? I know. How do you think your life has changed because of that?
Well, as being a father also, children give you a big why. Why do you do things? You may not be as committed to. Well, maybe not you, but it's much more like, when you see your family and you go, you know what, I better get out there and be the best me that I can be for them, right? In terms of, going the extra mile for business or whatever it is you need to do, that's a huge incentive for me. I have two daughters. My oldest lives in Big Bear with her mom, and she's 21, and my youngest daughter, who lives with me and my wife, is 8 years old, and she likes to bake, and she's a very artistic person. She likes music, and we like a lot of the same cartoons and shows like that. So we bond over that, and we're currently bonding over Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is got a lot of cool martial arts in it. Now my daughter doesn't do martial arts, but she digs it, and so we're currently bonding over that show.
Oh, nice. I'm pretty sure she'll pick it up pretty easy because it's in the genes, probably. He'll just
Yeah.
go around. So
Children remind you of, for me, children remind me of what it is to be pure. And, when I teach my class, sometimes I'll be tired, maybe don't feel like it, right? I go into my kid class and the first class of the day, and I get so much energy from them. I got to show up and be, you know, I want to be enthusiastic and encouraging, and yes, if I need to be firm, I'll be firm with them. But
right.
I feel so good after teaching class because I'm serving my purpose. I'm a servant of my students. Without my students, without their families, there's no school, and they don't get to do what I do. So I look at kids as they are my heroes, and I feel so good after, even the ones that are rascals, even the ones that, make me want to sometimes, they are my best teachers because some of them are teaching me about patience, and really try to look at them and like look into their heart and say, okay, what kind of a person is this person? And how can I help them hopefully in the future become a good person?
That's great. Your kids definitely give you a why, and
Mhm.
definitely they always doing creative things because that's how they are. They're always creative, and your little girl is that. So kind of pulls a lot of things for you. I just want to remind people that uh, your shop is your training place is it's in Torrance on the corner of 182nd and Western, right? And I noticed that you also do online classes because sometimes at this moment, we have to have this distance and things like that.
Mhm.
But so people can, I'll put your link in there of what you do, so people can that are in the area can take some classes and get the kids involved because I think it's just better when everybody starts young if they want to do it, and you can start at any time. But it's also good that they learn a little bit for self defense. It just gives them more confidence, I believe,
Absolutely.
as they get older, right? So I'm gonna
Yeah,
put your stuff in there.
we're teaching on Zoom right now, and honestly, I was afraid to jump into that. When this thing first hit,
Yeah,
I was scared, and we were like, well, what are we going to do? And we decided, well, let's keep teaching. We just do it through Zoom, and I had kids in my class, who were actually teaching me to like, okay, press this button here and do, if you want to know about technology, ask the kid, right? So
they're on top of it.
they kind of became my teachers, right? And then so now we kind of got the hang of it now, and I got this thing, the mute button that I use like there's no tomorrow, and it's like, oh, sorry, gotta mute you, and it works really great. But uh, you got to be into it too. My advice to my fellow instructors who are doing Zoom or maybe who maybe want to do it or are afraid to do it. Look, I know martial arts you can't replace doing it in person, but in lieu of that, for right now, it can be a great tool, supplemental tool, right? And the kids feel important. They feel it's important because it gives them a chance to connect with you, to break up the routine, and for me to hopefully influence them in a very positive way. And they get to see each other. It's kind of like, oh yeah, there's so. But you got to be into it. You can't look like you're in a hostage video. It's like I like to say where you're just like, I hate this, I don't want to do this. It's like, hey, let's go with it and let's have fun. And you really got to be flexible because you know what, you see dogs in the background, and it's like it's their house, so you gotta go with that. So
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm having a very good time.
sure. And once this thing passes, this COVID-19, and we get a chance to go outside, then they can come to your shop and resume like it's before, which is
Yeah,
good.
we obviously we have to. It's not going to go back exactly the way it was. I think the timeline's been altered, but I certainly think if you use common sense and you put safety protocols in place, then yes, we welcome that. We're looking forward to being able to teach in person again.
Sure. Uh, William, I have a gentleman, Mario Vargas, which is a friend of mine in the real estate business that we started like way back in the 87 year. He's saying when you were talking about respect and all that stuff and being in the ATM, the awareness is the key. Awareness of your surroundings, stuff like that, right? Uh,
Absolutely,
Definitely. And
yeah.
yeah.
And
So
I'll add to that. It's not only the awareness around you, but it's awareness of what you feel inside of you. And you got that gut feeling that's like something is wrong. You got to listen to that. Because that's there for a reason.
got it, got it. Another lady, Patricia Guillen, it's a friend of my sister, a 19-year-old daughter, lady. It's a black belt in karate. She says that it's one of the best investments she made. She studied Kempo.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so
Excellent. Excellent.
that's right. That's nice. William, uh, as you kept going and going in different stages of your life, uh, uh, you consider like as you did made some sacrifices to get where you're at, to get what you wanted, and sometimes you feel like sometimes you have to leave some things aside or give up some things in order to keep going to achieve your goals.
Well, absolutely. I think that you got to be willing to put the work in and put in the sweat equity. And sometimes it means not being able to do the thing you want to do now, so that you can do the things you want to do later on.
Yeah,
But yeah, you got to put the work into it, and then also figuring out a way to love the work. And it's not always easy. And sometimes I fail at it, but you know if it's worth it, then do it, right? And then the reward is amazing at the end. And you yourself sacrificed a lot to be able to open your restaurant. And what people don't see is how hard it is day to day, and yet it's still very rewarding for you in some ways, I'm sure.
yeah, yeah, sure. Oh yeah, there of course comes tough times along the way, and we've been in 30 years at the Pollo Inca, and not all the years have been great, the tough
Yeah.
years, but we have to keep
Well,
carrying on.
you do have a great restaurant, and what I appreciate about you is that you're always trying to give to the community as well. I see that, and that's one of the reasons why when you asked me to be on your show, I was very excited, because I respect that about you, and you're definitely a leader in the community, and I a great example to follow.
Well, thank you, William, and that's also what I see in you. We talk a little bit, and definitely we share many things alike, and giving back is one of the things. And this brings me to this question, William: what feeling does it bring to you teaching people martial arts, and then you later promote them to other things, like the yoga and tai chi stuff like that? How's that feeling, teaching
Well,
others?
my big thing is I my purpose, why I think I was put on this earth, and I finally boiled it down to like three words, and again, three words that start with E. Is my purpose is to engage with people, and that is to meet, to hey, how are you, or and then educate. So that means not only it might be I teach you, but it might mean you teach me something. And then the third word is empowerment, or I empower people. That's what I do. And
Word.
or I meet other people who empower me. But it's the three E's. It's engage, educate, empower, right? And that's right now. It's martial arts that I do that through. Martial arts self-defense. I engage, I educate, and I empower people through martial arts. But it could be through filmmaking, which is another passion of mine. It could be just through me showing up and being the best version of me possible. That's how I might be on purpose. And I find that when I'm doing something because I feel like it's my ego, or because I want to be sarcastic or something, and it's like, well, I go back to my purpose again and saying, well, okay, you know what? Did I really need to say that? Did I really need to, it's like, well, no, because I wasn't engaging, I wasn't educating, I wasn't empowering. I might have been engaging. I was teaching the other person what a jerk I was being in the moment. That's not the kind of education that I want to engage in, because it's not empowering. So, in regards to yoga, what a great supplement to do if you do martial arts, because it's for the flexibility. But even if you just did it by yourself, there's breathing. It's very calming. It's centering. We have a very great yoga instructor named Yvette Hamaya, who has been doing a fantastic job. My mom is taking the class My mom has taken the class for years, and she's 88 now, and she's definitely benefited from it. Tai Chi as well is, I like to think of them. They're all just different spokes of the wheel. They're not necessarily different things. But if you have the hard, you have to have the soft. It's what they call yin yang, and balance is very important. And if you have something that's always so much, it's very aggressive and very young, you have to counterbalance that with something that is yin and that is softer. Otherwise, the bottom falls out. And
I got
you can't have it be soft either. It's got to be counterbalanced by the hard.
awesome, awesome. And I like the three E's, and I have a couple of people that says Efrain Sevilla says I like the three E's. So
You're welcome to use them.
engage is what you do. You connect, you meet. I love that. And then the educate, where you teach them the skills that you have to show them,
Yes.
and they learn, and then you empower them to be uh, so confident, a little more, at least on the end of feeling that they can defend themselves, or that that's awesome. Can you touch a little bit about the filmmaking and the actor stuff? Because I know you did some of that. Can you tell us what you did and how's that? Because I seen some of that a little bit.
My first role was I played a shepherd in a play at the Green Valley Christian School. I was a shepherd, and then I was in a production of The Pink Panther Strikes Again at North High. I played Kato, typecasting, right? I was the martial arts ballet.
Yeah.
And I've always liked acting because, being a shy person and having a difficult time communicating, acting allowed me to express myself, and I could always blame it on the character and say, well, that wasn't me. I was just acting, right?
Mm.
And so, it led to my interest in taking theater classes at El Camino, and eventually being able to get into a movie called Karate Kid Part 3, which was, there was a few Karate Kid movies, and that
Yeah.
was a huge, huge opportunity in my life. And it was surreal. And, I really didn't think that I had a chance, and I just kept, believing, and I got lucky, and I was in the right place at the right time. And then after that, work really dried up for me. I had a hard time getting arrested, meaning I just couldn't even find work, couldn't even get an audition. But, I realized years later that wasn't for me at that time, because, I wasn't emotionally, mentally, and spiritually ready for that, for that industry. You have to be willing to, get knocked down and get back up again, and somebody says, no, 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 no. And if you can't take that, you shouldn't be in that business. But I also realized I had a lot of other things to learn, and my purpose needed to take me elsewhere. And now I'm looking at it going, maybe it is a business that I will return to, but there's more opportunity now with, aside from this quarantine right now, but because of the digital technology that has come about in most recent years, there are people who are basically teaching themselves the craft of filmmaking, and I'm able to collaborate with them. My buddy Jim Towns is an amazing filmmaker, and I worked with other people. Kurt Aptuhan, who is the cinematographer for Last Dojo. Just some amazing people who create first-rate projects that I'm going to be jumping on again. But I want to be able to tell the stories that I want to tell, and they relate to, some of the things that I've learned through the martial arts, some of the good virtues. Those are stories that interest me. Stories of not giving up, of doing your best, of getting knocked down and getting back up again. I think
Keep punching, right?
that's what I'm guided to.
I think that's great. I mean, keep punching is what one of the gentlemen was teaching you. If you're falling down, keep punching, keep going, keep fighting, keep going, right?
Sure,
Like,
keep punching.
William, tell me about your shop, your martial arts school. Tell us a bit of when did you open it, where it's located, and what do you do on that part? Because I want people to know that you're here locally in Florence. We have a lot of people that are friends of mine that come to the restaurant, stuff like that. So share a little bit about like that, about your place of training.
Okay, well, prior to opening up the Kaizen Dojo, I had another school in Gardena on Western, and it was a smaller place. And after 6 years of doing that, 2008 hit, the that recession hit, and I was burned out, and I decided I don't need to do this anymore. I was beginning to work at a place called Pirates Dinner Adventure at that time. It was one of my acting things. I worked at Pirates Dinner Adventure next to Medieval Times. I played a pirates, of all things.
Got
And,
it. Got it. What it is.
and I did that, and it was fun. And then I decided, when my wife was pregnant with our daughter, it was kind of like, well, how do we really would like to spend time with her. And I thought, well, you know what? Let me go back to teaching. So that way I can teach at night and be with her during the day. And then, when my wife would come home from her job, then we could switch. So that was what we did. And so I said, well, yeah, so we started looking for dojos, and we came across this place that used to be the Ikeda Bakery back in high school. And then it was a video place, and then it became Curves, and then it had been vacant for a long time. So I looked, and there was a gentleman named John Kaji who was the owner and landlord, and he showed it to us. Very nice man, and it was kind of already like ready to go as a dojo. It was like, I think this will work. So we kind of took that leap of faith, and it was scary, but it just started to grow little by little, and again, because of the students and family that supported, we were able to continue to grow it. And through social media and Yelp and things like that, I found that the marketing had become easier than the original. Back in the day, it was like, hey, I got to do these flyers and things like that. And all of a sudden, people are looking for you through a Google search. They are looking for what you do rather than you having to.
They find you much easier, right?
Easier. I mean, there is still some hustle. You still got to market, but
yep.
It's not like it was back in the day.
It was different. I have to go Yellow Pages, see where you guys are at. It was harder.
Right. It's very easy to find me now, with a Google search. And we called it the Kaizen Dojo because, Kaizen is a Japanese word that has come to mean continual improvement. And I like that philosophy. I know Toyota used it for a long time. And I like the idea of being in a constant state of improvement where, okay, how are we going to improve as teachers, as martial artists, and as human beings? Whatever it is we're doing, how do you improve as a restaurant? How do you improve as a father? How do you improve as a real estate broker? Right, that's what I'm doing on my end.
Yeah.
And we set students up for success because, look, as long as you are continuing to improve, or at least trying to continue to improve, then you're successful, right? And it's a philosophy. It's the cornerstone of what we do. It's not so much about the style. It's a mindset, And if you can apply this, where look, do your best, never give up, and always try to improve, how can you go wrong?
Exactly. Always improving. Definitely can't go wrong there. William, what are your main strengths for you?
I have a very positive attitude. I always try to see the good in people. I don't give up, and I do my best. Those I think are my strengths. I empower people. I'm generous.
Okay.
if you don't mind my saying so. And not that I have a lot of money, but I give of my time, I give of my energy, and I can be very stingy with those things sometimes. But that's
pretty good, actually. That's giving the time to somebody else is many times worth more than money.
But I'll tell you know what my number one superpower is, though. I've realized this over time. It is my patience. I have super patience. And I've had many a parent tell me, Sensei Ford, you are very patient. And I will own that. Yes, I am.
That's good. That's good. And parents appreciate that, when you've been patient to the kids, or let's say my kid in there, Yeah, that definitely. You make a kid happy, you make him feel important. Hey man, you just keep going up in value for us as parents, and that's definitely one of the values that you have. Um,
And do you mind if I share with you what I think
sure.
some of my weaknesses are? Because in sharing my weaknesses, I think become stronger.
Let us.
Um, I doubt myself. I sometimes forget who I am, when I forget to stand in my own power, um, I begin to doubt, and that's my weakness. Sometimes I think too much about, oh, well, what will this person think, and so I have to remind myself that I don't need that approval. I can just do it. I'm good enough as I am.
Yeah.
But being a human being, sometimes I fall into that trap. I procrastinate. That's another one of my weaknesses. I'll put it off to the last minute, and oh, you know what? I'm going to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and do my homework. That's still me sometimes.
Well, you're just being human, William. Just being human. There are times that we can be the we can beat up anybody in the world, right? If you know the strength and all that stuff, but there comes a moment when, hey, just those thoughts run to your mind, but knowing you and knowing what you practice and all that stuff you just said, and you just figure out a way how to turn it the other way around. And it's normal. I mean, it's normal that we think like that. I think everybody thinks like that at a certain point. Whoever says no, I'm pretty sure they're probably kidding themselves because,
Yeah.
hey, we're gonna mess up at some point. Nobody's. But then we get better. We figure out how to do it better next time.
Well, we're all a work in progress, and I'm definitely working on continuing to improve myself as a human being, and that also means trying not to beat myself up too much.
On your kind of work, do you do a lot of meditations?
I have been. I started it. I started meditating early on, and then I forgot about it, and then my wife got me back into it, and then there was a gentleman, one of my mentors named Sensei Fariborz Azak. He's a big proponent of meditation, and for me, meditation is simply just look, take a moment, breathe,
Yes.
relax, focus, and then you'll feel better. It doesn't necessarily have to be an esoteric thing where it's not a spiritual thing. It's not. For me, it's just, wait a second. Let's just breathe and take 30 seconds, slow down. And that's my meditation. And it works.
It works for you. And you just got to find what works for you, right? Everybody works a little different things.
You got to remember to do it. You got to remember to do it. Because you remember the show Andy Griffith? Remember the Andy Griffith show?
I watch a little, not much, but I know who it is.
Well, there was a character named Barney. Barney, and Barney was played by Don Knotts, and Barney would always be like freaking out, what, Andy? And so I want to be Andy. Where Andy was always like, "Now, Barn, just calm down. Try not to be Barney. Be Andy.
Be calm. Be calm in the moment." Well, we're about kind of wrapping it up, but what I'd like to ask you, knowing what you have now, what will you tell a young William? What advice would you tell him if you had him next to you? William, let me share with you this and that. What? Because this is the advice I think when we're all this great time we have been talking, William, and I really appreciate it. Um, what would you talk to him about? What would you advise a younger you? Knowing if you have him next to you and you have that, what would you say to him? If everything you've been through.
I would say, get clear on your vision, follow your passion, take action on that. Don't do it by yourself. Get a team of people that you can really rely on who can help you.
Yeah.
Do your best and never give up.
Oh man, that's great advice. That's great. I'm writing it down. And never give up. Definitely have a vision, develop a passion, get a team, learn, do your best, and never give up.
And take action. Yeah, it's not going to happen by itself. It's you got to take an action. You got to keep, and if you come against the wall, okay, well maybe I got to take a different action. So, but I found that those elements there are kind of they're what helped me, and I know that they will help a lot of people.
Definitely, they go together. All those great things you mentioned. I want to thank you for your time. But before I go into that, just to finish up a little bit, Patricia Guillen says her daughter wanted to quit so many times, but she never let her, and now she got the black belt. And
Fantastic.
if, yeah, right, it's nice. Efren Sevilla, the guy the gentleman that likes your three E, says, "Hey, it takes a real person to admit that they also have weaknesses." A lot of people look up to you because you develop this knowledge in the martial arts and stuff like that. But hey, you just being a human being by saying, "Hey, sometimes I think this and sometimes I think that." That's like really good because uh, it shows the kind of person you are. Hey, listen, I ain't no super person. I am good. I'm strong and all this. At the same time, I do have flaws, and I just correct them because that's how you get better, correcting whatever comes up, right?
Well,
Uh,
uh,
Moni Shimomura says hi in one of your persons.
oh, she's, Efrain Sevilla is mi hermano, and when this is all done, we're gonna go out for tacos. And
Hey, good.
Tomomi is, my Tomodachi, who is a student of the Machida brothers, and she is a great mom and a great person. And I'm so happy that some of my friends have actually made comments today.
Thank you. And I really appreciate your time. And I just want to let you know and let the people that are listening that hey, sometimes you're able to come out of work and maybe catch us a little late or halfway into it. This gets saved and goes into our Facebook page and mine and Williams or Sensei Ford as they call you. Uh, right. And then it goes into YouTube too. So we have a library at Unbreakable of great people that we meet. And of course, to me, William, it's definitely an unbreakable person. To me, it has shown us some great stuff, and it's got probably a lot more stuff that we could learn in another time. But I just want to wish you to have a nice weekend, William, and I want to thank you for your time, for the golden nuggets that we heard here, and especially the three E's are beautiful. And really want to thank you for this moment that we shared here.
Oh, you know what? The pleasure and honor was mine. Thank you so very much. Really, really appreciate you and and everything you do. But what a great fun time I had being on your show.
Thank you so much. So I'll share you the link with you later once I get it. It takes a little bit, and I'll get it. And I'm going to end the broadcast. Thank you so much. Share it with your friends. You guys that know him, I share with me all the time, and definitely, great advice here. So I'm gonna end it right here. Thank you for your time. We'll see you in another time. But Sensei Ford, hold on one moment. I'm just gonna end it here. Okay.